I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another live broadcast of the show. You had many places to be tonight, but you chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. A couple of things I'd like to get out of the way before we kick off in the show tonight. This will be the last live broadcast of the show until after Christmas. We will return on Tuesday, December 26th for another live broadcast. And the last thing I'd like to talk about before we jump into tonight's breaking news is today is the 23rd anniversary of the passing of my little brother, Nolan Craig Ducote. He died way too young. He was only 32 years old. So I wanted to wish him a Merry Christmas up in heaven. I know he's hanging out with family and friends who have gone before us to see the Lord. I also know that those of us that are left behind here on planet Earth will one day be reunited and be in holy joy to be back with each other again. Okay, breaking news. The Colorado Supreme Court has decided to disqualify former President Trump from appearing on the state's ballot in the 2024 presidential election. The disqualification is related, according to them, to the Capitol riot that took place on January 6, 2021, because they believe he is guilty without ever having his day in court. I guess they forgot the oath that they took, the rights that we have in America. Every American that ever faces the criminal justice system in any way is innocent until proven guilty. And the Democrat members of Congress and judges in Colorado, Trump is guilty, not innocent, until proven otherwise. Now, without a doubt, that will be appealed and it will be overturned. Democrats don't get to make up their own damn laws within our justice system. That being said, we have watched, as you have, the DOJ and the FBI not arrest those or issue indictments of those that are Democrats. And they should, but they don't. And it's sad. It's pathetic. And our entire justice system right now has been turned on its head. And it looks pretty nasty. If Republicans do not take back 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue in 2024, keep the House, and take back the Senate, I, for one, think that the United States of America that I once served for is going to be toast. And sadly, I know a lot of other people feel the same way that I do about that, because what we're seeing happening is absolutely a tragedy. As I reported last week, Democrat Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Dick Durbin is stopping the release to the public the full flight manifest of those who rode on child molester, sex trafficker Jerry Epstein's plane. Now, why would you do that? Well, I'm going to tell you why he did it. Either his name's on that list, and he himself flew on it, or there's a bunch of Democrats that he's trying to protect that flew on it as well. And look, there's a difference between flying on the airplane and flying on the airplane to go to his island where they were having these sex orgies with underage girls. He used his airplane to fly a lot of people around different places in the country. Donald Trump flew on Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton flew on Epstein's plane. The difference is Donald Trump, to our knowledge, did not go to his island. But Bill Clinton, as we know, did go to the sex orgy island with underage girls. And this is something that needs to be exposed. We, the people, demand to know who is on that list. That's just how it works. So thankfully now, a federal judge in New York has ordered the unsealing of dozens of documents naming people linked to the disgraced financier and sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, regardless of what Dick Durbin does or doesn't do. The documents are expected to identify approximately 180 people, including associates of his, victims of his, investigators and journalists who covered the case. Some of the names will remain under seal, including those belonging to minor victims who never spoke publicly about the case, and a person who the judge said was wrongly identified as an alleged predator by a reporter. At least one person asked the court not to release her name, arguing that it could put her at risk of physical harm. U.S. District Judge Loretta Persky outlined the reasoning in a 51-page order yesterday. The order comes as part of a 2015 lawsuit between Epstein's accuser, Virginia Giuffre, and his former lover and accomplice, Ghislaine Maxwell. The case was settled in 2017, but the judge indicated in a hearing in 2021 and 2022 the names would not remain sealed indefinitely. Giuffre has alleged that Epstein and Maxwell trafficked her when she was a child. She is now in her 30s. Some of the names have been withheld in some documents, but belong to people who have either spoken publicly about the connection to Epstein, have already been identified in court documents, or were identified during Maxwell's trial. The order included a 2-week delay to give anyone whose name would be disclosed time to appeal. Other documents already unsealed in the case included portions of the 2016 deposition of Raul Razzo, a former private chef of the hedge fund manager, Glenn Durbin, who claimed Epstein and Maxwell came over with a disoriented 15-year-old Swedish girl. Epstein died, as we know, in a jail cell in 2019. His death was ruled a suicide. Federal investigators upheld the designation of a 128-page report that was released back in June. Epstein, already a convicted sex offender in Florida, died at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in New York while awaiting federal trial for sex trafficking. While finding flaws with the Bureau of Prisons and its staff members, the report also uncovered no evidence to contradict whether or not Epstein's death was a suicide. While the OIG, which is the Office of the Inspector General, determined that the correctional facility in New York staff was engaged in significant misconduct and did not uncover evidence contradicting the FBI's determination regarding the absence of criminality in connection with how Epstein died, the report said. We did not find, for example, evidence that anyone was present in the area where Epstein was housed during the relative time frame, other than the inmates who were locked in their assigned cells. Maxwell is serving a 20-year federal prison sentence for her sex trafficking charges, along with Epstein and what she did. Now, P.S. Epstein did not kill himself. And there is no logical reason to withhold anyone's name that flew on that airplane to his island unless they were underage at the time. And if that's the case, they would be considered victims. President Biden's approval ratings have plunged even further as we head into Christmas. And support for his own party appears to be dwindling. On Fox and Friends today, a lifelong Democrat turned independent voter said she recently left the party over Biden's lack of understanding of American voters, adding that she planned to vote for former President Trump. Baraba Tulko, Tulko, said, "I'm very dissatisfied with the current president. I was a lifelong Democrat and recently changed to independent because I found that every time I try to go to the grocery store, it costs me more money. I'm a little afraid about what's going on with our border. I'm kind of concerned about it. I live within 5 minutes of New York City, and I'm actually kind of afraid to even go there." And I think a lot of it has to do with his lack of understanding of what's really important to the American people. Boy, did she hit the nail on the head with that one. He's busy worrying about what's going on in other places. Only 1/3 of Americans gave Biden a thumbs up on the job he's doing in the White House, according to a new national public opinion survey. The president stands at 34% approval in the Mammoth University poll released yesterday, with 61% giving Biden a thumbs down for his job performance. The president's approval is at an all-time low in the polling since Biden took over the White House nearly 3 years ago. Americans questioned in the survey gave the president particularly low marks for his handling of immigration, which was only 26%, and inflation, 28%. Biden once held the upper hand over Trump in a 2024 rematch, according to all the surveys. But Trump began enjoying the advantage over his successor in the White House in most polls, which started back in October of this year. Now, because of that, the Democrats and the liberals are losing their damn minds. More and more lies are coming out. More and more spins are happening. And our crooked justice system is going to do everything in their power to put Trump away before the election happens, because that is the only way they can stop him from becoming the next president of the United States of America. I'll repeat that. They're going to do everything in their power to put him in prison. They can't kick him off the ballots like they just did in Colorado. It will be overturned by the Supreme Court if it even has to go that high. Donald Trump will be elected president in 2024. I've got no doubt about it by looking at the polls and listening to, hell, even CNN and MSNBC, for crying out loud, realize that Biden doesn't have a snowball's chance in hell of staying in office. Even they realize that he's mentally declined to a point that allowing him to continue to be out in the public eye is elder abuse. And that's not good. The unique presence of Representative Eric Swalwell, Democrat, California, at Hunter Biden's news conference on the Senate side of the Capitol last week raises questions about whether he played a role in the first son defying the House subpoena. A top legal expert has come out and said. George Washington University law professor Jonathan Turley told Fox News that Hunter Biden knowingly thumped his nose at Congress in a display he called a slam dunk case of contempt. Now, let me stop for a second and explain something. The Democrats and the liberals are saying, oh, wait, he said he would testify, but in an open hearing. While the Republicans want to have it behind closed doors. because, oh, that proves that there's nothing there and that they're lying and that they want to cover it up and keep the American people from knowing about it. Well, you guys have the brain power of an asparagus. If you go back and you look at Donald Trump's impeachment inquiries and what they went through, it's the same thing. They hold the hearing. I'm going to say it slow because I know you guys and girls over there with your freaking pink hats and your freaking weird looking colored hairdos and your support Joe Biden 2024 shirts don't understand when I talk fast. They first hold it behind closed doors. If there's something worth coming out and talking about, then they will have it done in a public hearing. That's what they did with Trump, and it's no different with what they're doing with Hunter and Joe. But there's a difference. The difference is the House Speaker told Hunter Biden and his attorneys and the American people that he would release the full transcript of the behind closed door hearing immediately at the end of it that day. So we'd all be able to see it and read it before Hunter goes into a public hearing. Now, I said it as slow as I possibly can. I realize that some of you sheep are just walking to a beat of a different drummer who happens to be wearing a skirt and he's a male. But we get it, okay? You're dumb. And there's no way we can fix that. But we can continue to at least call you out on your stupidity, remind you of how the justice system is supposed to work. And the difference in what the Democrats did with Trump and what's happening now is the Republicans are doing it exactly by the book, which is what's pissing off a lot of the Republicans that aren't in Congress because they want to see it happen now, tomorrow, do the impeachment. Republicans are saying, no, we're not going to rush this like the Democrats did. We're going to do it exactly by the book. In display, he called a slam dunk case. However, more interestingly was the aspect that the space of the Senate side where Biden's press conference took place to avoid any potential intervention by House Sergeant at Arms William McFarland for denying the lawful subpoena was reserved by Swalwell's office. House Oversight Committee member Eric Bolton, Republican Missouri, said last week that McFarland should indeed pursue Biden, adding that the first son is clearly in the city of Washington. On America's Reports, anchor John Roberts said Swalwell was clearly acting as the surfer of sorts for Hunter Biden visit to the Hill. Truly said there may not have been a crime committed by Swalwell, even if Biden is probed for contempt, but that other repercussions could come at the direction of the House. It certainly raises serious questions under the House rule. I've never seen anything quite like that, he said. There's plenty of members that are associated with unpopular cases. What's different here is that Swalwell reserved congressional space through his office, presumably using his staff for the sole purpose of allowing Hunter to defy a subpoena, a valid subpoena from the House of Representatives. Truly noted, Swalwell himself is a former Democrat manager of ex-President Donald Trump's impeachment proceedings, appearing as someone who is the subject of congressional proceedings. He cited how Republicans already essentially barred Swalwell from the House Intelligence Committee, following allegations surrounding his interaction with a suspected Chinese spy named Fang Fang. They have a lot of options, from censure to looking at whether he should be allowed to continue on committees. But the key here is really that we need to know to what extent did he not only facilitate, but encourage what could be a federal crime. And in my view, it was a federal criminal contempt of Hunter Biden that day. In a recent column for The Hill, Turley said Swalwell was blaming the House for insisting Hunter appear for a closed-door deposition rather than public hearing, calling the move hypocritical on the part of Democrats. Turley also responded to comments House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith made to Fox News over the weekend regarding the two-tier justice system and a constitutional crisis, being the president's son defying Congress. He said the situation is not necessarily a crisis, but that the gravity of what the younger Biden did is duly noted. The contempt of Congress statute is an easy vessel to apply to the situation, if needed, he said, which means it's not necessarily a crisis. This isn't a particular difficult lift legally to bring contempt action against him, he said. But that's really breathtaking here is that the Democrats who have defended him in this precise approach that they witnessed come in for depositions before they appeared in public hearings. They did the exact same thing. And that includes Eric Swalwell, who participated in that. During the Trump impeachment, the then president's former strategist, Steve Bannon, economic advisor, Peter Navarro, were cited for contempt for allegedly defying the House Select Committee on the January 6th riot. In addition, Democrats on the committee, like Representative Zoe Largrid of California, claimed at the time that closed-door proceedings were key to the panel's work because there'd be more time and depth than at a public hearing. Remarks reported by Politico, Swalwell explained his actions, claiming Trump directed MAGA Republicans to weaponize Hunter's past addiction to attacking President Biden. I'm not going to sit quietly and let MAGA Republicans do Trump's bidding in Congress, Swalwell said. Look, you've already kicked him off committees. Censure the son of a bitch. And while you're at it, we know about the Chinese spy. Expel the guy. Just kick him to the curb, please. An ethics complaint has been filed against Supreme Court Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson for willfully omitting required income disclosures for years while serving on the federal bench. The Center for Renewing America, a think tank led by Russ Volt, sent a letter to the Judiciary Conference with allegations that Jackson willfully failed to disclose required information about her husband's malpractice consulting income for more than a decade. The letter suggests that the Judiciary Conference should refer Jackson possible ethics violations to Attorney General Merrick Garland for investigation and possible civil enforcement. That's not going to happen. The letter notes that federal judges are legally required to disclose the source of items of earned income earned by a spouse or any person which exceeds $1,000, except if the spouse is self-employed in business or a profession. Only the nature of such business or profession need to be reported. As part of her nomination to the U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia, Jackson disclosed the names of two legal medical malpractice consulting clients who paid her husband, Dr. Patrick Jackson, more than the $1,000 for the year 2011. In the filings, however, Jackson repeatedly failed to disclose that her husband received income from medical malpractice consulting fees. We know this is by Justice Jackson's own admissions and her amended disclosure from the 2020 filed when she was nominated to the Supreme Court. Some of my previous filed reports inadvertently omitted her husband's income from consulting on medical malpractice cases, the letter says. Volt says in that letter, Jackson has not even attempted to list the years of which her previously filed disclosure omitted her husband's consulting income. Instead, her omission On her 2020 amended disclosure form filed in 2022, Justice Jackson provided only the vague statement that some of those past disclosures contain material omissions. Vogt, who headed up the Office of Management and Budget in his past position, argues that Dr. Jackson's income does not qualify for the self-employment exemption. The Ethics in Government Act of 1978 requires Justice Jackson to identify the source of items of earning income earned by a spouse from any person that exceeds $1,000. Former OMB chief argues that since Jackson was aware of the requirement in 2012, enough to list the specific source of income for her first disclosed filing, but not in the following filings, apart from admitting that she left off some of her husband's income, her action amounts to willful violation of the law. The letter also says there is reason to believe Justice Jackson may have failed to report the private funding source of her massive inventured celebration at the Library of Congress in her most recent financial disclosure. Following her appointment to the Supreme Court in 2022, the Library of Congress hosted a massive event in her honor that featured performances by several musicians and groups, including the Smithsonian Jazz Masterworks Quartet and civil rights movement freedom singer Rutha Mae Harris. It's unclear who paid for that event. EIGA requires that any gift received over $415 be disclosed. EIGA defines gifts as payments, advances, forbearance, rendering, or deposit of money, or anything of value. Jackson's disclosed for that year includes flowers from Oprah Winfrey with a value of $1,200 price tag and a designer jacket from Vogue photo shoot that cost $6,580. A designer jacket for a photo shoot, $6,580. Justice Jackson, though, cannot claim ignorance because EIGA's gift disclosure requirements, and there is no serious argument that this massive event featured performances by several musicians and groups celebrating her is not a thing of value, Vogt said. So look, you can follow it all day long with the Department of Justice, which is obviously what you're going to do. But if you think for a freaking second that Attorney General Merrick Garland gives two shits about what you file, there's a serious issue happening in your head, because he does not. He doesn't go after Democrats. He goes after Republicans. Twice failed Democrat presidential candidate Hillary Clinton has fueled fears yesterday that former President Donald Trump will act as a dictator if he defeats President Joe Biden and takes back the White House. She said, "Take him at his word," Clinton wrote in response to Democrat Senator Brian Schultz, who wrote, "Trump is now repeatedly saying he's going to be a dictator on day one, and I don't think we should keep asking him what that means." The hysterical warning from Democrats follows Trump's tongue-in-cheek response to a question on whether or not he will act as a dictator when he gets into office. "You are promising America tonight you would never abuse power or retribute against anybody," Fox News' Sean Hannity asked Trump, who responded, "Except for day one," suggesting that he will take executive action to reverse the damage the Biden administration has done, starting with reinstating energy independence and closing the southern border. "You're not going to be a dictator, are you?" Sean Hannity asked. Trump replied and said, No. Other than day one, we're closing the border and we're drilling. After that, I'm not a dictator," Trump added. It was satire. Yet Democrats are spinning it to be factual that Trump will consider himself a dictator if he wins the White House. It is now a new critique as Democrats have attempted, it is not a new critique, as Democrats have attempted to cast Trump as a dark, spine-chilling authoritarian for years. We've all heard it. Yes, it was actually President Joe Biden, though, who actually ended up acting as a dictator, which manifested the beginning of his presidency, if you think about it, as he attempted to force millions of Americans to get the jab in order to keep their jobs. You either get it or you're fired. Despite first promising he would never order that to happen. In January 2022, the Supreme Court struck down what many described as Biden's Trinity Occupational Safety and Health Administration coronavirus policy, which would have required employees working at businesses with 100 or more employees to get the jab, even describing his mandate forcing individuals to get it they personally opposed in order to keep their jobs is a very modest burden. There were very narrow ways out of that rule, as well, only allowing individuals who do not want the vaccine to get away with it by masking up and getting tested once a week. Americans were also forced to wear masks on planes and other forms of transportation under Biden's leadership. That's dictatorship right there. But in April 2022, a Florida judge nixed that, asserting the rule exceeded the authority of U.S. health officials, and it was unconstitutional. It was also under Biden administration that officials described concerning parents who voiced concerns over various educational issues, and they were labeled domestic terrorists. And it was Biden in September 2022 who delivered a dark and divisive speech calling on Americans to stop MAGA Republicans. Remember, he called every one of us who supported Trump deranged and in need of mental help, and had some spreading his talking points saying that MAGA Republicans need to be deprogrammed. The liberals and the youth that vote are believing this garbage, sadly, because they're too damn stupid to take it one step further and investigate where these talking points are coming from. Dictator. There are some things that, look, think about this for a second. Everything they said Trump was going to do if he was elected president, the horrible things, is happening under Biden. They said he was going to get us a war with Ukraine. He was going to get us in a war with China. He was going to get us a war with Iran, a war with North Korea. We're all going to die. Nuclear war is going to happen. None of that happened. Trump said so much crazy shit that these dictators, the real dictators in these countries we just mentioned, were scared shitless of the man because they didn't know what he was going to do. When the president of the United States comes right on out and tells you to your face at the UN, if you don't shut up about this rhetoric that you're spewing, we're going to kick your ass. Oh, and then he's unpresidential for doing it. Hell no. He's an alpha male who just spoke his mind. That's what got the man elected in the first place. He wasn't a politician, and he wasn't afraid to tell you exactly how he felt about you if you trash talked him. Oh, bad orange man. Okay. After Joe Biden was elected to the White House, Democrat pundits held the return of adults in charge in Washington. Remember that? Biden's in charge now. Adults have taken back Washington, D.C. Adults. As if we were children. However, since his election, there's been no shortage of scandals exposing Democrat perversion, including the halls of power in D.C. and even in the White House. Here's the top most recent Democrat scandals under Joe Biden's presidency. Number one, just happened. Democrat staffer having sex in the Senate. A graphic video emerged on December 15th of a Democrat staffer for Democrat Senator Ben Caldwell having anal sex with someone in the United States Senate hearing room in the U.S. Capitol. It was two males, which is government property and American taxpayer funded. The video showed the staffer naked on all fours on a table where senators conduct their business. He has since been fired. Number two, porn webcam Democrat, Virginia Senate candidate Susanna Gibson. In September, the Washington Post revealed that Susanna Gibson, a Democrat candidate for the Virginia Senate seat and a nurse practitioner, had performed sex while with her husband on a live online audience on the website called Chatterbait and encouraged viewers to request sex acts and pay them with tips. Some of the videos archived online were recently as September 30th of 2022. Gibson lost her race by fewer than only 1,000 votes. Number three, baggie of cocaine found at the White House. In July, a baggie of cocaine was found inside the White House West Wing by the Secret Service. Secret Service later claimed that there was insufficient DNA present and they would not identify the owner of the baggie. And we all know who that belonged to. Fox News' Jesse Waters later claimed documents obtained through the Freedom of Information Act request shows there were 3 vials of DNA that were taken in that investigation. And once again, the FBI and the Department of Justice covering for the Bidens. Number 4, trans influencer Rosie Montana flashes breast at White House picnic. Just a month before Cocaine Gate, a trans influencer at a pride event at the White House flashed her fake breast at a White House event that also hosted children. The trans influencer, Rose Montana, pulled down his dress and grabbed his fake breasts. Video was widely circulated on social media. White House was finally forced, after several days, to condemn the act and ban her from ever coming to the White House again. Number 5, Navy enlists drag queen influencer to recruit more sailors. You might remember in May, the Navy revealed that it recruited a drag queen influencer as part of a pilot program to help recruit more people. The influencer, who is an active duty sailor named Joshua Kelly, goes by the name Harpy Daniels and had performed for other service members during deployments on naval ships. Number 6, Democrat mayor arrested on child porn related charges. In March, the former Democrat mayor of College Park, Maryland, was arrested on dozens of charges of possession and distributing child porn. Former mayor, reportedly, and Manatee of Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, has been photographed with Representative Nancy Pelosi and other high-profile Democrats. He resigned prior to his arrest. He was finally sentenced to 30 years in jail just last month. Number 7, non-binary Biden Sr. official and BDSM practitioner caught stealing luggage. In December 2022, top Biden Department of Energy official and dog play fetish Sam Britton was caught stealing luggage at a Las Vegas airport. In April, the now former Biden official agreed in a plea deal to pay the victim nearly $3,670 and receive a suspended jail sentence of 180 days and probation. Number 8, Army colonel exposed in pup play. In December 2022, it was exposed that an Army colonel had taken photos of himself in uniform in a dog mask, including what appeared to be an official Army photo. An account called @Nova_campaigns exposed the colonel, who had since retired. The retired colonel had numerous photos of himself in a dog mask and uniform. posing with junior service members. The Army said it was investigating the photos, but the outcome of that investigation is not known because they won't tell us. Number 9, Democrat Governor Andrew Cuomo faced allegations of sexual misconduct. In 2021, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo faced allegations of sexual harassment, including that he groped former female staffers. Cuomo resigned over the allegations. Investigation said he subject women to unwanted kisses, groping their breast or buttocks, or otherwise touched them inappropriately. Made insulting remarks about their looks and their sex lives, and created a work environment that was rivaled with fear and intimidation. Number 10, Democrat scandals predating Biden as president. There is also no shortage of Democrat sex scandals predating Biden's administration. In December 2022, it was revealed that an alleged Chinese Communist Party spy, which we talked about a while ago, Fang Fang, had targeted Representative Eric Swalwell, getting so close that she was able to place interns in his office. Swalwell has never addressed the allegations that his relationship with the alleged Chinese spy was sexual. In March 2020, former Democrat Florida governor candidate Andrew Gillum was found inebriated in the Miami Beach hotel with a man who had overdosed. Police found 3 bags of drugs suspected to be crystal meth. Photos of Gillum later emerged showing him lying in his own vomit on the floor. He later said he was bisexual. In 2019, Representative Kate Hill was revealed to have been engaged in a threesome with her then husband and a former female staffer. Numerous photos of Hill emerged, including one of her nude and brushing her former staffer's hair. Hill resigned aimed the controversy. Other famous Democrats embroiled the scandal, including Representative Anthony Weiner, remember him, who was busted for sending women sexually suggestive photos of himself in his underwear, and battled Senator Bob Menendez, who has faced allegations not paying prostitutes and going after underage prostitutes. And let's not forget former New York Governor elect Spencer resigned in 2008 after it was revealed that he had patronized a prostitution ring. And of course, then there was former President Bill Clinton. He was impeached after his affair with intern Monica Lewinsky was revealed in 1998. After Clinton sued Paula Jones, a former Arkansas state employee, in 1997. And yes, liberals and Democrats, there have been many horrible stories on Republicans too. Their hands are not clean by any means. But the pot calling the kettle black is hypocrisy 101. To say that now adults are in charge as if the Republicans were all kids is absolutely insane, considering what I just read you. And I could go on for the next 2 hours reading a list of all the crazy shit that has happened under the Biden administration and the people that he's put in positions of power that don't even know what their sex is. Now, I'm not going to judge. We all make mistakes and we all do dumb shit. That's human nature. Every man and woman has done some stupid things in life that you wish you had not done. We're all guilty, every last one of us. So Democrats, liberals, Republicans, and conservatives, no one is holier than thou. So don't put yourself up on a huge platform or throw stones in a glass house. Now, I want you to pay close attention to this next story. And I've written it out here to read to you in as simple terms as I possibly can for liberals and Democrats. I have watched hours and hours of House hearings involving the impeachment inquiry of Joe Biden. I've watched all the evidence that's been released so far, and it is very, very damning to Joe Biden. You too can watch the hearings that I watched. They're right here on YouTube. And every last one of them are there. Yet regardless of the evidence in every hearing, every Democrat, when it's their time to speak, continue to repeat the exact same talking points. They go to the microphone and they say that there was no evidence shown to them. They do this because they know the liberal news media outlets where Democrats get their news, which is typically CNN and MSNBC, just to name two, will only cover the part of the hearings with them saying there's no evidence. They will not cover what the Republicans are saying or the evidence itself the Republicans have shown in the hearings. And they know that their followers, their voting public, is not going to watch these hearings because they're just going to follow what they say as sheep. So what is the evidence? Because of Hunter Biden's laptop, and if you remember, he was so cracked out of his mind on cocaine and meth and pot and drinking, he was fried. Hunter Biden was fried, all right? He took his laptop into a mom and pop shop to get it repaired, and he forgot to go pick it up. And just with anything, any item that you take somewhere, whether it's your laundry to get done or dry cleaning, computer repair, lawnmower repair, it doesn't matter. You got so many days to come get it and pay your bill. If not, it becomes the property of the person who owns the company. And that's what happened with this laptop. Because of Hunter Biden's laptop and former business partners of Hunter Biden testifying to Congress, we have eyewitness testimony. We have emails from the laptop, thousands of them. We have photos from the laptop that prove 100% that Joe Biden was actively involved in a pay-to-play illegal scheme with his son, Hunter, with illegal business dealings in Ukraine and China, while Joe Biden was the vice president. Basically, through Hunter Biden, China and Ukraine officials would pay huge sums of money. We're talking about millions of dollars here for access to the vice president of the United States. This money was funneled through not one, but over 15 different shell companies to hide it. But the records have been released by the banks that prove that it existed and the shell companies. Then during the 2020 campaign, Donald Trump exposed this during one of the debates that you probably remember. And Joe Biden looked in the camera and denied it. And he said to the American people that he had absolutely no business dealings involving his son, Hunter, never had. Then we all know that at the same time, the FBI worked to shut down any and all mentioning of the laptop on social media as Russian disinformation, which is also a crime because at the time, the laptop was in the FBI's possession. And we only know that because Elon Musk purchased Twitter and had access to it and found out what the FBI was actively involved in doing. Telling all the news outlets, telling all social media people that it's fake Russian disinformation. That's how FBI did that. Since Joe Biden has become president, he has repeated many, many times when confronted by reporters that it's all lies, that he never met with any of Hunter's China or Ukrainian business partners, and that he was never involved in any business dealings with his son. Yet the laptop proves otherwise. There are thousands and thousands of these emails directly linking Joe Biden along with Hunter while he was vice president with these same business partners that he claims he knows nothing about and he never met. Then there are the actual photos that recovered from the laptop of Joe Biden and Hunter meeting in person, posing for photos with these same business partners that Joe claims he never met. Then there are the witnesses that testified under oath to Congress, witnesses that were business partners of Hunter Biden, who said Joe was 100% actively involved with this illegal pay-to-play scheme. Yet in every hearing, the Democrats walk up to the microphone, stare into the camera, and say they've seen no evidence from the Republicans, and this whole thing is nothing more than a Republican witch hunt ordered by Donald Trump to smear Joe Biden. The evidence is rock solid. I've seen it. Watch the damn hearings if you don't believe me. They're right here on YouTube. It's all been verified. The Democrats and the House continue to lie and cover for Joe Biden, just as the Department of Justice and the FBI do. So Democrats and liberals, before you start spreading the House and Senate Democrat talking points, do yourself a favor. Do your homework. Watch the House hearings so you don't look like a fool and a liar. Some things are just insane. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're not even at the tip of the iceberg. Let me back up. We're just above the water level of the iceberg. And now that the House has voted that they will be able to continue after the Christmas holidays this impeachment inquiry, it's going to be all exposed, more so than what I've seen, and more so that you can see right here on YouTube. Anyone, and I do mean anyone, I don't care your political party. If you watch what I watched right here on YouTube of these hearings, of course, I watched it on C-SPAN, but if you watch the after show of it, and you walk away from that with the Democrat talking points that there were no evidence shown by the Republicans, then you are an absolute idiot, not capable of doing anything. You're a pathological liar. Just like all these Democrats in the House, they're saying there's nothing there. When it is there, it was exposed. We know it was. We've seen it. And Republicans are saying that they held back the most damning of evidence against Joe Biden recovered from that laptop. And I don't know what that is. I don't know how anything can be more clean cut and damning to Joe Biden for this pay-for-play scheme than what we already know was retrieved from that laptop. But I can't wait to see it. And still, you're going to have the Democrats up there in the House say, it's a nothing burger. There's no evidence. I mean, literally, they stare into the camera and say, Republicans have shown us no evidence. Look, other than a ball-peen hammer to the head, I don't know how you can get them to see this. But here's the deal. They're doing that for a reason. Because they know that the base for Joe Biden is not going to watch these hearings. They don't pay attention to none of that shit. And they've been brainwashed to believe that Republicans are a bunch of liars and they're just making this shit up. And that's the bottom line. Anyhow, Folks, you had many places to be tonight, chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. Let me say this, from all of us here at Team Ducote, working behind the scenes that make this show possible, Marilyn, Sherry, Scott, John, and Doc, we want to wish you all, the subscribers of the show, a Merry Christmas. Whatever you do this coming holiday, please be safe. We already know from many law enforcement agencies, to include the CIA, that they believe a major terrorist attack is going to happen right here in America sometime between now and January 1st. They believe it will happen at some place where a lot of Americans are at, a mall or a church or some type of big gathering, so that they can make world news. Be vigilant. Pay attention to your surroundings. Look for exits wherever you're at. Seriously. Take this seriously. I am, and as a former law enforcement officer, besides my military career, I'm telling you, from all the chatter I'm getting from my friends that are still in law enforcement, this is some serious shit. It is one time that the FBI has said something that you can take to the bank. They know what's about to happen. They just don't know when, and they don't know where. But they do know the terrorists have infiltrated across our southern border, because they've caught many of them. But more people get away than what gets caught. We've got over 2 million people who've crossed that border illegally since Joe Biden became president. So if they're catching domestic terrorists or terrorists that are on the no-fly list, the watch list, you know there's many that were not caught. And because of what's happening with Israel and Hamas, there are many bad people calling for bad things to happen to Americans. So be safe wherever you're traveling. I hope that you will remember the men and women in law enforcement that are working for this Christmas to keep us safe. I used to be one of those. I worked many Christmases. Our men and women that are deployed overseas, fighting terrorism, remember them. They can't be home with their families. I used to be one of those soldiers. I've spent 3 separate Christmases deployed in combat zones in my life. I know what it's like. And their families are missing them. And they're missing home. All right? So, it's not like Thanksgiving. What do you have to be thankful for in your personal self? But for all the holidays, especially for Christmas, remember those that are out there keeping you and me safe from harm's way, stepping in front of the bad guys. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving in the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. I will see you back here Tuesday of next week after Christmas. Starting tonight, I've got a list of stuff to be doing with family members, and I'm going to be very, very busy traveling in many different locations, and many people that are coming here to my house as well. So we're going to be very busy. I hope that you are too. I hope that you're with your loved ones. I hope that you're sharing Christmas joy and spending time with your family and friends. Be safe, but always remember those that can't be with their loved ones this holiday. Thank you. Merry Christmas. If anything breaks between now and then, yes, I will come do something real quick on it, or I'll put out a video about it. Other than that, I'm about to start enjoying Christmas. Thank you. God bless you all, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.